Welcome to the Channeling Spirit Virtual Summit, a platform where we have invited Spirit to share messages, healings, and transmissions with all of us. May this energetic experience help us to expand our awareness and to deepen the relationship we have with our higher self, our spiritual team, and with Source, however we define them. Thank you for being here and for taking part in this amazing journey. Hello and welcome to the Channeling Spirit Virtual Summit, Season 6, Episode 6. My name is Daniel Martinez Stahl. I sometimes forget to say that, not that it matters, but with us today is Kitty Foss. Kitty has been with us more or less since the beginning. She joined us Season 2, and she and I have really nice, fun conversations where we play and explore, and I question everything she says because astrology for me it isn't one of my go-tos, and so she's really helped me to give that space and that tool a sense of what's the word I'm looking for? Appreciation. And space for it to inform me in ways that I might not have done in the past. But anyway, as always, Kitty, if you can introduce yourself and then we will go from there.
I am Kitty Budawake Foss, and because of this summit, I am now going to tell you I am the storytelling astrologist, reader of the stars. And one of the reasons I've added that is one of your guests, Susan Kennard, that came through, had us do a meditation, and I really worked on being very quiet, and she said, see if a message comes through, and that's what came through, your reader of the stars. And then another presenter you had, Sandra Pelly, did a whole meditation and talked about step into who you are. And again, I hear, so say reader of the stars. My particular team that talks to me are smart Alex. I would normally use a different word, but this is being video recorded. Not everyone appreciates the more base language I use. And I love coming on because when Daniel and I get together, we do play. You know, not that other people aren't playfully talking, but there is a definite banter that we get into. Like Daniel the other night sent me the number 9.
I did not, no.
Yes,
so
you
did. I
I
wake up in the morning with a message from Kitty and I'm like, why are you sending me this? And she said, you sent me the number 9. I was like, no, I didn't. And so I scrolled up in the chat and sure enough, there's a number 9 that got sent from my phone to her at some point in some way.
Well, we had talked earlier that night, and see, this is where I challenged Daniel because he's like, no, I didn't send it. I'm like, yes, you did. You might not have known. Your team sent it. Somebody sent it because we talked at like 8 o'clock at night or something. And I wake up and at 11:02, because I watched the numbers, here is the number 9 from Daniel, and I'm like, well, I just kind of free associated what it meant and sent it to him, and he's like, what? I'm like, you sent me the number 9, so here's your message. It's like, well, no, I didn't. Doesn't matter. Here's your message. That's what channeling is. You know, whether you want it or not, sometimes it comes pouring through. And you saw him go, I did not send you 9. Look, folks, I have a screenshot of it. It came 2.5 hours after we spoke, the number 9. And I didn't even look at my phone till the next morning. And I'm like, okay, Spirit, 9. So, you know, we'll have to see. That's a very galactic number, by the way.
It's my favorite number. Always has been.
Really?
Yeah. So the reason that I remember being a child and we were in elementary school and we were supposed to make a pillow of some sort. And I was thinking, what am I going to make a pillow of? And somehow I thought, well, what's my favorite number? And I thought, well, I don't really have a favorite number. And then I thought, I like 9 because it's the largest single digit number that exists. And I went, oh, cool. Okay, so 9. And so 9 became my favorite number.
Well, and so he sent me his favorite number. I feel very blessed. So
so
anyway,
anyway.
I call myself the storytelling astrologer, and I came to channeling kicking and screaming and going, no, no, Spirit, this is not going to be how it goes for me. And Spirit said, why, yes, it is. And I use astrology. I use astrology as the structure. And they do talk to me in planets. They talk to me in energy of the planets. When I read a birth chart, they'll say, go look at Jupiter. I go look at Jupiter, I start to talk about it, and then I hear more of what I'm supposed to say or impart or work with people on. The gift has expanded now. I am now doing a daily reading of the stars that I put out on a couple different platforms just to talk about what they're talking to me in the morning about, the vibration of the day. And it is because I was reluctantly calling myself a astrologer. This is a prescience, or it's spelled the word pre-science. Didn't even know this word existed for a while. I came with this knowing, and I did not realize I had this knowing. I just thought everybody knew this stuff. And until one day, several of my friends, some of them who are, I'm looking at their faces right here, said, would you call yourself an astrologer? You know, and I'm like, well, I've never really formally studied all of this. And I thought you had to have the degrees and the whatever. And then as time has gone on, I have an inner knowledge that comes from far beyond what I have put in my own brain, in my own learning. And they continually talk to me about, as this world evolves, what the stars' energy is leading us. And I'm a follower of science. I follow quantum physicists, and I'm still amazed to this day when something will come out from, one of my favorite ones is Nassim Haramein, and he'll come out with about his new thing, and I'm like, oh, and then I'll start hearing about that having to do with the stars. The word that comes to me is forecaster. I like that. And so I just read the energies and I talk to them about it. And that became, I realized, a channeling. There have been some amazing presenters. One of the first presenters this time talked about how channeling happens all the time. And I thought, that's exactly how our gifts evolve. And our gifts aren't always for other people as well. They're for us. That everything becomes a channel. Spirit talks to us, and almost everybody on this program can think of a time where they just knew something and they have no reason to know why they knew it, why it led them, why they made the choice that they did, or something that happened, you went, I knew that. And that is part of learning this channeling. Now, some people have, my guides talk to me constantly, and like, as I once shared, they're quite smart alecky. They are not, I don't think I've ever told this story. My first guide I ever met, his name was Cantima. Cantima is one of my primary guides that comes to me. She's out on my right-hand side. And I met her in a meditation. And she came up, and I was actually sitting by a waterfall. And she came up and she introduced herself, and she's a rather wise woman looking person, and looks indigenous. And I said, what's your name? And she said, Cantima. Never heard the word before. So I went and Googled it. Cantima is actually a Buddhist god. Cantima, this is the honest to God truth. The story of Cantima was actually a god who didn't like human beings, and is the only archetype that Buddha allowed out of their job of working with human beings. And Cantima is in charge of the moon. I had no idea of all this. So in another meditation, I once asked her, why did you come to me looking like this when you're from another whole part of the world? And she said, if I'd come to you looking like I had arms and the gold, what would you have said? I would have gone, oh, because it was long before I started looking at how I reacted to things and how my perceptions were. So that was my first guide. So I'm always amazed when I listen to and watch people move into talking with their guides, how interesting that is to me, when people can channel that way. I channel via what they tell me, but it still comes out, though I know it's not me, because there are things that I'll say, I'm like, I have no idea, but here, and it comes through. So it's an interesting piece, the way I channel. It's a different way. I've
There's
actually
something
thought about saying, I want to do a channel here. I want us all to close our eyes and do an exercise. So I still
well,
want to do it. So
we did that last season. Remember when I put you on the spot?
did you?
I
No, I
did.
don't.
I did.
So I don't
Because you
remember
say
it.
that you
What
don't
did I
channel
do?
at the end of the last season. I said I'm going to put you on the spot, so close your eyes and give us a message.
Oh
So
yeah, I can always give you a message. They're always talking to me. The more I do this, the less separation. There were some definite themes. And yes, Daniel, I'm very proud of you for going through the themes, because I did that to Daniel the last season. I said, so Daniel, what do you see as the themes? And he said, no, I'm going like this.
I
So I
don't,
was like,
I just happen to notice that this season everyone's talking about love in some way, shape, or form. But Kitty was very quick to say, not just that. And then she
not just
rattled
that,
off.
but
Anyway,
see, we
you, br-
play, guys. We
you, you,
play.
you bring up a really good point that I want to highlight for people that are connecting with their team in whatever way that is. Spirit will present themselves to you in a form that is aligned with your beliefs and your ideas of who you are. So the guide that Kitty just mentioned isn't going to present herself in, like she said, with, multiple arms and, whatever else is going on in the imagery, because Kitty would have run away from that. Like, this is just not, it just doesn't resonate with me. So of course her guide's not going to use that. Now, I've mentioned this already in another episode, where the same guide can manifest in different ways in our perception. So one day we see them as, Willy Wonka, and the next day we see them as Mary Poppins. Very different personalities, very different images and different ideas, but there's an underlying vibration to them that when we start to recognize it, we can identify it. Oh, this is the same guy, just playing in a different disguise. But they're always going to present themselves in ways that are going to align with our beliefs and who we are and what we're working with. If I'm working with someone that is vehemently opposed to past life regression because it goes against their religious beliefs, I'm not going to do a spiritual regression where they're going to go into a past life, and their team isn't going to take them to a past life. Their team will take them to a metaphor or to some other storyline that doesn't relate to a past life, because the past life would conflict with their own beliefs and their own ideas. And so spirit has a way to adjust and adapt to us beautifully. And so I just wanted to bring that up.
And I think that that's really important, because as we grow, spirit will also challenge us and bring us to some new things. And that's kind of what we were going to be talking about a little bit today with the Aries nodal axis that moved. And there was just so many messages that came through. There was the message of love, and there was a message that has been constant through everyone's presentation also about being exactly where we are. And I can tell you, personally for my own growth that something has changed in me, and I think in many people, where we don't question anymore, what is my next step? What do I do? What do I do? We're coming to another understanding level that I hold still. And so when I talk about the Aries North Node and the Libra South Node, I'm talking about the soul's axis. It's the energy, the archetype that is assigned to our soul's growth. And each of us has our own soul's goal that we have when we come in. And so we've come from an axis of experiencing, searching, awakening. That started in end of 2019 into 2020. And then the ability for all of us to pause and really start to that Gemini piece of what was being told, what was I learning about, what was I experiencing, waking our souls up. Then we moved into this nodal axis that was about how do I stabilize this? How do I change myself? Not just to change, but stabilize who I am, understanding who I am. What do I really value? There was a period of time recently where Mars, which is the planet of our will, how we focus our energy, was in that same Gemini energy of what do I experience? How do I understand this? What do I really value here that I want to do? And then we've just now moved into where our soul is ready to spring again. It's the song Unstoppable by Sia. I'm unstoppable today. That is what is churning the energy for our soul. But we always are moving away from a paradigm that we've been in. And so originally, when I sent Daniel my title, he said, nobody's going to understand that title, Kitty. So I had to change it because I am going to talk about the nodes, because what we're experiencing, this just happened within a month. We'll be here for 18 months.
Before you go on, what is a node?
And the nodal axis is your north node and south node. So the node is a point in your astrological chart. Thank you, Daniel. A point in your astrological chart that, unlike a planet, it has a place that was a stop or a pause, that there's a delineation. And your north node is your soul's highest goal. And the south node is the energy you're moving away from. Everything lives in duality, and it's the energy you're moving away from and learning to use at its more expanded expression. So one of our presenters talked about higher and lower frequency. Those are words I no longer use because of my own understanding. Is I had value with higher and lower frequencies. But lower notes are really no worse than higher notes or lower stairs. So I tend to use denser and expanded energies because the denser expression tends to be very physical, very much the things that we struggle with. But we need those denser energies to help us balance and learn and be a mirror, and to help us move through life, because we took a human experience. And the expanded energy of that is that it's mostly about humanity, humankind. So every energy has a denser expression and an expanded. So in our south node, we are using our expanded understanding of the energy while we deal with how it's activating our soul's growth at the moment. So does that help, Daniel?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So originally I wanted to talk about, this is a time with this nodal axis that is asking us to look at, and this is a common theme that was across all the presenters, what is it that we have decided is a set of rules, a set of guidelines, memos that we have been taught, we've bought into, that have stopped us from the joy that is our life, from expressing where it is we want to go, from not hearing the messages as they come. And so because it's Libra, and Libra is about harmony. Where have I thought I was buying these rules that these would bring me harmony outside of myself, that I am now taking a look at? This was a very powerful day yesterday. It was called Lionsgate. And that's when the sun, which is who we are, son of Sirius, which is our spiritual who we are, align with the earth in between them, seriously. And so it really is, a lot of people will tell you it's an ascension portal. It really is, how am I aligning myself with that spiritualness? And is it separate? Or is it just different degrees of all of who we are? And so that's been a big theme in this, is about looking at what is it that keeps me from stepping into the world I want. So the story I wanted to tell about this was, I'm in another class. I'm a believer that you take other classes. And we were supposed to write a vision declaration. What is it we wanted to see our life be like? I couldn't do it. I seriously could not do it. And it was in I ended up writing it as a letter so that it would sound present. I was having the heck of a time. I had all of these and I was very aware of, this is Libra. This is me looking for harmony and balance that I might have bought into, that really is stopping me from what I want to do. What do I want to declare is my vision about my life? And so I kept calling it a vision declination. I called it that in the class. I called it to a friend, and I'm like, what is a declination? Now, if this isn't where spirit leads you, I don't know what is. So I looked up the word declination, and a declination is the exact degrees from the celestial equator that a point is in the stars, or a star is. It's the delineation. And I have a friend who's a map maker. She goes, Kitty, it's true north. When you make a map, you talk about the declination being true north. And north node is your soul's highest goal. What is our true north? What is it I truly am seeking to be and go through this world as? And so I'm like, okay, spirit. Like I said, there's people, they come and talk to me. I'm like, okay, so this is why I'm saying declination. And so I proceeded to write a vision declination about all the things I refuse to believe in anymore, that I decline to believe. And by starting to write them down, things like, if I want to be successful in my business, I'm declining to believe that I'm not worthy enough, that I'm not able to be, that that's not what spirit wants for me. All these other little human things. I've gone to take the word ego, and I'm just calling it my human manager. My human manager that is managing my spiritual peace and trying to move my body and keep me healthy. My human manager it has a lot of memos it has brought into. And so I asked Spirit again, because I'm looking at this Libra South Node. So how many things have I hidden that I don't even realize I've bought into? I heard Megan today talk about how she has been singing. Oh, what did she call it? I loved it. She calls it the language of the stars. Well, I'll be reaching out to her right away in her light language. And it was beautiful, but she's been doing it since she was a child. She had a mother that talked to her in this same language. And so she never got a memo that there was anything different about what she did. Yet I have friends. I have my friend Sandra. I have my friend Chrissy, who spoke light languages and then kind of pulled themselves a little bit away from it or limited it because of perhaps some of the memos they bought into. So I've been asking Spirit to lead me. Again, this is part of the channeling, to have more information so that I can talk about it. So all of a sudden, I'm becoming aware of words. So this is a bottle. Now, to me, a bottle is a bottle, but to somebody else, a bottle could be a reference to drinking, having come from an alcoholic parent. A bottle could be something about a tug of war with a child they held on to too long. And so our language are just symbols we've agreed upon to give information. And that's why our language and becoming aware of it becomes so important, because I have agreements around my language that I don't even know I've entered into until I really start, and this is the other common theme, to be quiet and get on the other side of my language, to take my human manager and say, can you just help me get to this space, this place in my meditation where I'm, the word they gave me, and they're saying, say it now, is divine quantum magic. That place that we all swam in before we took this human form. That place of ultimate connection that comes through our DNA. We are God. We are source. And that is stored in our physical body. And that was before language. That was before I accepted these symbols as having these meanings. This word bottle has no meaning in other languages. But because I was taught that this symbol was a bottle, I was also taught those memos, those rules of how to act went with my language. And so, there were several times, Daniel, over these last 5 sessions where people were going back and forth in their language. And every single one of them said, for me to go on, I get to that quiet place where there isn't language, where I'm in touch with that, I'm going to call it that divine quantum magic of a knowing, a purposeful knowing. And that's where spirit comes to talk to me. That's how I can tell the difference between my manager and when I'm channeling something. It is beyond, the first thing I get is the feeling. And I'm very intellectual like you. I play with words. I'm a little bit of a word nerd. And so I'm very aware of words, but I'm understanding that part of my prescience has been beyond the words, beyond what this Libra South Node is showing me. What is my vision declination around the language that I'm going to be learning to let go of? Because I do truly believe I can be happy. People say pain is a part of pain. You have to have some pain. Do we now? Who's that really? Where is that really written?
Yeah.
That we have to have pain.
A couple of things, if I can kind of
Oh,
add
sure,
to this
because
conversation.
I'll just free associate. So you best reel me in.
Couple of things
and
that I
anybody's
want to.
got a question out there, send them on, because I'll just free associate. So.
Yeah. So as always, if you guys are here and you want to ask a question or comment, feel free to raise your hand or put a comment in the chat. So a couple of things. First of all, language. I love language.
I do too.
I love language because my brain doesn't really hold on to words very well. And so I was explaining this to Kitty the other day. Because I have a very limited vocabulary, I've learned to be very exact with the words that I use and to utilize words to describe something, knowing that I don't have the plethora, big word, of options to really describe what it is that I'm looking for. Sandra in her session used a word and I felt like saying, what does that mean? But then she kept on talking and I couldn't quite get back to it. I don't know what that word meant. And so I've always been very careful with language because of that. But what I've noticed in the work that I do is that our beautiful human will use language to reflect the ideas from which it is living from. Which is really beautiful. When you're listening for it, you can start to see when somebody really sees the truth of something, the way they describe it changes. The way they relate to it changes, and the words they use in their description of it changes. And so language can be a beautiful tool as well within yourself, is to just notice and be aware of how it is that you're describing your experience and the words you're using to describe it. How limiting are those words, or how expansive are those words? And the choices that you use within language will help reflect that. Joanne, question, comment?
I guess it's a question. Well, it's more of a comment based on what Kitty was saying regarding this whole process of things that the words I'm hearing is we're born into to believe. And with this amazing energy of our nodes right now, the I am, the Aries, what we might have believed as children, we have this opportunity now to reflect on and ask ourselves, well, do I truly still believe that that's what this is about myself? And if you choose not to want to believe that anymore, you have that choice to do that, is to change your belief system. And we're in such a powerful time, empowering time, where we can begin to change every belief that we have to now serve who we really are in this energy, without having to explain to somebody why we're choosing to believe something different than what they believe in. So it's a very powerful energy that I believe our Aries and Libra nodes are helping us to be empowered by.
Yes, I think so too. And to Daniel's point, language is beautiful, and having another awareness that even the language that you learned has things attached to it allows it to become a tool to change your language. So one of the ways, I'm going to talk to Cheryl's point. So your South Node is what you come in with past energies that you actually have some mastery over, your personal South Node. And so you are learning to use the golden, that more expansive energy of your South Node. It's called the golden shadow, as you learn about your soul's work in that North Node. And so because it's what you come in, it's something that you've experienced, you tend to default to it until you start to pay attention and you go through the places in your life. Now, where language comes in is, what of your South Node have you believed that this is the way you do it? And one of the things that's becoming really apparent is wherever you put a limit on yourself, it is there. So I'm going to pick on you, Daniel. You said I'm not very good with words. First of all, sorry, you are amazing with words, okay? You may not see that, but as a mirror, I'm going to tell you with my language, I don't accept that agreement about what I see from you. Now, it makes no difference until you see it.
Okay, so just to defend myself, my memory doesn't remember words very easily. So I don't remember the words. It's not that I'm not good with using words, because I know that I am good with using words. That feedback has been given to me for many years. But what my mind isn't good at doing, I'm wonderful at a lot of things, but remembering vocabulary is not one of its strengths.
So but your memory isn't necessarily how you remember the words. Your memory is how you're using it. And so limiting yourself, I don't remember the words because somewhere there's a rules that say, oh, memory has to have the word so I can recall it. So you can let that go. You have your memory is absolutely fine. I'm just not using the words. There's that Libra South Node. Oh, I bought that as the outside agreement on the outside agreement that in order for me to measure, I have to have good words. That's what I mean. This is what this Libra South Node is asking us. There's that vision declination. I can let that go now. There are so many times in the last couple weeks where I'm like, oh, I could just let that go. And that makes places for me to do something else. And there's my Aries North node, this new part of the game. It was interesting because Ryan was talking about this. This new part of the game is I am not separate. I am source. I am not separate. So I can start to look at the places I've acknowledged a separateness that wasn't necessarily source's separateness. And so I am starting to every day talk about the things that changed me today. I could usually list the things that were a problem, but I have never stopped at the end of my day. And it's not just a gratitude list, but I said to my friend yesterday, happy birthday. You changed my life because I've been trying to learn cribbage and you taught me. And I realized, wow, that's a celebration of the change. I had let go of a limit. So I'm starting to look at, I'm going to celebrate where I've let go of a limit. And my language is not a bad or good thing. It's just what happens to us as we assign, take symbols and come up with ways to work with each other. That's part of the human experience. Now, can I take in this Aries? Aries is that unstoppable energy. How can I take this now and really begin to set my soul going and completely in the direction? Where is my true north? Am I truly following what I am? As an astrologer, I believe that before we came, we were swimming around in that divine quantumness, and whatever our reason for our journey here, and I do believe there must have been a reason, whether it was to help, whether it was, I chose that energy as a tool. And the more I learn about it, so here's my example. I'm a Virgo North node. So I am sparking the details. So why I'm paying so much attention to language is I am transforming, because mine's in the 8th house, I am transforming all of those little pieces to get my work done, to move out of the way those things, and understanding that there is beauty in all of the smaller things. That's part of my soul's lesson this time through. And so when I'm channeling now, they have been talking my head off. I was explaining to Daniel that yesterday was a very powerful day, 2 very, very powerful meditations. And I felt like I was an Etch-a-Sketch. I wanted to hold the picture and I didn't want to shake my head because the picture would go away. And so, because I wanted to synthesize all of these connections I was making. And so I was laughing. So Carolyn has a question. Go ahead, Carolyn. Can you unmute her? Okay.
Yeah. Hi, Kitty.
Hi, Carolyn.
G'day, mate. I don't really have a question, but I have I have never heard of that. You talked about the low and the high vibration, and you talked about that you don't follow that anymore because that put the value on us. And the light
for me, I have in my language, in my symbols, low and high I have judgments on them. So
for me, that I was just going to say the light went on, and it was like, holy crap, look at that. That is just perfect, because when in the law of attraction, it zooms in on high, low vibration, and I hadn't stopped to think about the meaning of that for me. And I'm listening to you with such intent, because you're opening a new world for me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
I was so happy to hear all of these other speakers, because this is what the love. If I am tuned into this unconditional love, I don't have a condition on it. You know, it's funny to say, my language sometimes puts a condition on it. And it's not that I don't think we should have language, but I understand the need to get very quiet to see where it takes me in my body and see. It's funny because then I'll say, see what it says to me. But now I'm saying, see what it feels like, see where it shows me something, whether it's a picture of something, whether it's a color. I thought it was interesting today when Megan and
Olivier.
I got my notes. Olivier, yeah, said, what did you feel with the music? What did you hear? What did you see yourself being? I'm like, yes, because they're lovely, lovely. If you have a chance to see it, please see that session. You can feel the love, this unconditional love that they are tapped into, that is so, oh, Casey, you're getting a big lesson, that they are so tapped into. But it was about symbols. It's about the vibrational music. It's moving beyond our language, this sensations that we're becoming. That's what this DNA activation is: to see differently, to hear differently, smell, taste, touch. And channeling allows us to kind of tap into that divine they talked about, and so did Ryan. When I get very quiet, it's like something opens and I tap into it. And it's not about my language. It's a matter of fact, it's usually about clearing my language. And I've had to make friends with my human manager because I have far less fears, I will tell you that, than I've ever had in my life. Because when the fear comes up, I say, thank you. I'm wrapping you in a source blanket. If I need you, I'll get you out again. And I seriously put it in, and I honest to God, I've seen a couple of my guides go, kick that baby, but it's because I'm becoming aware of what declinations I need to make in my life. What do I need to really say to myself? I believe in magic. And not, for me, I do believe in magic. I see magic all the time. I drove through a rainbow. That was an amazing experience. And in that moment, I'm like, this is what a miracle is. Oh, this is magic. So, but I needed to absolutely say, I believe in magic. And then let it go what the definition was. And so that's what this whole time, to me, that the stars are leading us. They're asking us in this age of Aquarius to see each other. That was another common thing, to see each other and to see ourselves. In order to see the value in others, I see the value in myself. And I move out of the way those pieces that stop me from living that full life. And I have something called Venus in the 12th house. So things are revealed to me around relationships and beauty in the time they're meant to, because that's what the 12th house is. It's things that come from the unconscious at the time they're meant to come, divine timing. And so I'm very aware of that. And that's how I use charts. That's how I read charts. And that's how, if you follow my daily input, I meditate, I look at the chart, they tell me what to say. Sometimes I do it 2 and 3 times because they're seriously talking to me. And I'm like, look, I got 90 seconds. That's what we're doing. Until I hear the vibe. Somebody, was it Ryan who said that? Somebody talked about hitting the wave. Oh, it was Megan, that they know that if there's any kind of resistance around it, it's not tapped into their source, and they let it go. If it's got difficulty around it, then there's something that is not true. There's something they have bought into, and until it moves freely for them, they aren't doing it. So the example they gave was they thought they should get their newsletter out, and they didn't want to do it. So they said, let's go to the beach. They went for a swim, came back, and it was the time to let the newsletter go. And he said, yes, I have all these things that come in, but I'm learning that when I can tap to that quiet place, and I'm learning, for me, when there's no language around it, that's the time to go do it. If I'm having a conversation in my head about it, then that's not the time. I'm not tapped into that space and that place. So
a lot of what people talk about, and see if I can remember to share two things. So I'm going to start with this, and then hopefully I can get to the second if I remember. A lot of what people talk about is learning to live their lives from their heart space versus their head space. You know, I'm a headspace kind of person. It's in my nature, it's in my design as a human to be more geared towards that aspect of experience. And so for me, part of my chosen journey is finding that balance between the head and the heart, not about dismissing the head and moving into the heart with a dismissal of the head, but it's an integration of both. And so that's my personal journey, which I talk about quite a lot. The importance for me of high versus low, higher vibration versus lower vibration is, again, like Kitty's mentioned, it's this idea that we have an unconscious association with high being good and a low being bad.
Mm-hmm.
And what Spirit has constantly been telling us over and over again is that there is no good or bad. There's no a lower vibration is a bad vibration and a higher vibration is a good vibration. That's a human term. And so
Constraint, yes.
I've chosen to use, I tend to like the word of expansion when I'm talking about a higher vibration. It's a more expansive experience of life, because that resonates with me in a way that's affirming and supportive without the unconscious association of it being better. I can go into a very more narrow perspective of life, and that's not a bad thing. It's just a chosen perspective where my consciousness becomes more focused in the moment. And my consciousness becomes focused in my human experience because, bottom line, I'm human.
I'm a human. Yeah.
I'm here to live my humanity. Yeah. I'm here to experience my humanity. And so my human is designed, and I use this word very individually. I know that Spirit doesn't necessarily use this word, but I believe that our humans are designed to experience these focus of emotions and focus of experience. That's the beauty of being human. I have the capacity as a human to live in the depths of despair, and I have the capacity as a human to live in the depths of joy. In extremes. Mm-hmm. Not all physical beings have that capacity. Humans do. And it's beautiful to be able to experience them. Now, I'm choosing to direct my life in a way that allows me to experience more expansive, more opportunities, more possibilities, because I can feel and I can sense that I'm done playing in separation. I'm done playing in less than. I'm done playing in limitation. Now, yes. There's a lot of patterns in my 52 years of life that keep on repeating themselves while I am learning to let them go, while I'm learning to accept a broader perspective of who I am. You know, we have a definition of what it means to be human, and we are struggling to find a new definition because we've spent 50 some odd years defined as humans means this, that, and the other. We are literally in the process of redefining what being human is, and that's the exciting adventure that we're on. The idea of highs and lows, the ideas of betters or worse, is nothing more than this experience of what we thought it meant to be human. Humans aren't designed to experience highs and lows. Humans are designed to experience emotion. You feel the difference in that?
Yes, I do.
Right. And so I spent, years in the last, 10 years of my life, I've been exploring what it means to be human. And being human means that I'm going to have good days and bad days. And being human means that I'm going to have my good moments and my bad moments. And again, like Ryan brought up in the last conversation, we're now being invited to live in a life where that's not the way that we define our experience.
No, I loved when he said that, and I don't want you to forget your other point. So
I already did.
You already did. All right. what you guys don't know on the sidelines was he was trying to remember a point in another one, and I'm telling him, this is how she started. And then he said, I still don't remember what it was, Kitty. Yes, and that's what this Libra South Node is about, your vision declaration. This is how I see my life. This is the life I want to live. Now, does it mean I might not refocus that? Absolutely. And what I focus on is what I am multiplying. And so I'm not going to focus on the highs and lows, because when the lows come, they tell me something, and I can go back on my journey of living from the middle. I enjoy being a happy person. I enjoy having kind words. I enjoy those things. And if that's what I enjoy in my vision declaration, that's what I'm creating. That's what I say to Source. All right, that's where we are. It doesn't mean that something might not come and cause a hiccup, but that's what it is. It's a hiccup versus years of, well, I have these rules, and if I play by these rules, I'll never have a bad day. How'd that go? So then, since I'm going to have bad days, let me play by my own rules. Let me literally look at how I look at life. Let me look at what I perhaps have bought into that, oh, you know what? Who says that has to be true? Who says, oh, if I'm saying that to myself, if I had these symbols and agreed, I use expansion and denseness, because denseness to me isn't a problem. Mud's dense, things are dense. It means it's in front of me, and that's how I feel sometimes when I'm problem solving. I feel like a solid block, and so I want to expand the block. But that's the words I chose to use. I have a challenge for everybody out there. Try not to use the word but for 48 hours. Use the word and instead. Because often we will say but, which, by the way, but negates what was said before. If I say and, I have the duality of understanding what you're talking about is my humanness. Oh, he said that, but he said it at the wrong time. He said that, and I felt it was the wrong time. They're both true. I don't have to but it. And so, again, I'm becoming more and more aware of it's not a right or wrong, it's an and. They're both true. Now, if I look at them, I engage them both. I literally engage them both. And try it. Correct just for a minute, I would say to everybody. And I'll give you an exercise. We're going to do something. I'm going to give you an exercise. All right. If you can, close your eyes. And you can do it with your hands or your feet. It doesn't matter. Feel your feet on the floor or feel the air on your hands. And then I want you to focus on your right hand. Just completely put your focus on your right hand. Completely put your focus on your right hand. Okay, now take that focus off. Put the focus on your left hand. Completely put the focus on your left hand. Now put your hands in front of you, or you could do this with your feet. And just kind of be aware of both your hands. Now, put your focus on your right hand. Keep your focus on your right hand. Do you have any awareness of your left hand? Try it on the other side. Put your focus on your left hand. Can you have some, even with your focus, awareness on your right hand? That's what it means to be human. How can I focus and stay aware? How do I not get so lost in my focus I lose my awareness? That's part of channeling. That's a skill we're doing. How do I put my focus somewhere but keep my awareness? Now, it's interesting. When I first started doing this, I could by far do it better on my right hand or my right foot and keep my left. But when I focused on my left, I had a hard time finding this. That's and but. It's and. I am focused on this and I still have an awareness. And so that is one of the reasons why I started looking at and but. Can I focus and keep an awareness? And then I can hear, and I heard that very clearly today about love. If I can be in that vibration of love, I have awareness of all still. But my focus is love. There we go. And my focus is love. How do I keep those things? That's part of my human experience. How do I focus and stay aware? Because I've had many years of, I get so focused on something, I lose the awareness of all of the other parts of my life. And that's when language is a problem for me, because I get so focused on talking about it in all the pieces, I have a lot of rules around that. Interesting exercise. Anybody have any feedback? Joanne does.
Joanne, do you want to unmute yourself?
I was trying. Whatever the reason for it, it was not working. Anyway, yes, the feedback, it was interesting because when I was focusing on my right hand, my left ear was being activated. Like I started hearing more from my left ear. When I focused on my left hand, my right ear was being activated. And I was like, wow. I said, that is very interesting on how I had the opposite activate upon focusing on one to the other.
It's part of our journey is how do I learn to focus and keep the awareness? It's not focus, but keep the awareness. It's focus and keep the awareness. And this is this nodal access we have for our soul right now. How do I keep an awareness of a balance? Because we do want a balance in our life, but not at the cost of, there we go, and not at the cost of, I keep a balance at the cost of the spark, my soul, where I want to go, what I want to start. And so when I talked, Spirit was showing me about languages, like, can you dip into this quantumness? And I am a Scorpio. So one of the things I look at when I look at my map is Scorpios are always about transformation. My very essence is always looking, always. And Scorpio's denser expression is exactly that tail, that if you get in my way, and it's expanded as the eagle. What do I see from above as I transform? So so that's my belief in astrology. I am forever connecting all of the little pieces together, the colors, the essence. I took pages of notes today to go, oh, that goes with that. Oh, that goes with Libra, South Node. And the idea of what's my vision declination and what is my vision declaration? And I'm aware of the duality of both of them. I prefer to know what rules and regulations are perhaps even hidden in I was taught to be a good girl. You know how much that comes around? To be, oh, this is a good thing versus a bad thing. And letting go of good and bad has been a lifelong journey for me. That little sucker is still under the surface often. Like, oh, am I just being good? There's the judgment. I'm a big fan of Byron Katie's. If you don't know Byron Katie's work, it's called The Work, and it's about our judgments and how we approach our judgments.
So again, I've got a couple things to say. We'll see if I remember the second one. I want to emphasize a word that you used because I think it's a really important word in our respective individual journeys, and that's the word of balance. I regularly talk about the importance of appreciating what it means to be both human and spirit and the synchronistic relationship between both. It's not about one being stronger than the other. It's that both are working cohesively and their strength is in numbers. We regularly are told about how strength in numbers it's an accelerator of energy when there are more than one focused on something. And we have this beautiful experience where we are multidimensional beings. We are both spirit and human. You know, when people talk about we're spirit having a human experience, well, yes, but we're also human having a spiritual experience. And that's what they're not noticing. That's what most people are forgetting. There's this beautiful balance between humanity and spirituality. There's a beautiful balance in recognizing, okay, so again, language, right? Ryan calls me out on my language all the time. Kitty calls me out on my language, as you just heard. You know, I am where I am. And for me, it's really important for you to understand that it's perfectly okay for you to be where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my personal struggles is self-criticism and self-judgment. And so you will hear me talk about how time and time again, I'm not there yet, but I'm pointing myself there because this is really important.
And I'm pointing myself there. See the difference?
I'm not there yet, but negates the first thing that I said. So this is a good use of but.
Yeah. But they are both living. You are dealing with both of them.
You know, and so for me, it's really important, especially, you know, presenting information to a variety of people that are at different levels of their own understanding and their own growth. For me, it's really important to talk about the fact that, you know, some of us are still really struggling with who we are and where we're coming from and, you know, the challenges of life. And that's okay. And, you know, and I will use language purposely to let you know and to remind you that I'm a traveler just like you. You know, I'm not perfect. I will never be perfect. But again, the beauty is that we are beings in an infinite experience of life. There is no end to where we're going.
Well, you know, I don't want to take your second point away. So
I've already forgotten it.
Okay. There's a good example of language. Perfect. There is, for me, and I heard Brian say it, I heard several other people say, we are just perfect the way we are. And people struggle with the word perfect because they have a set of rules that goes with perfect. You are absolutely where you're supposed to be. I'm absolutely where we're supposed to be. Thank you for this amazing forum to talk about that, because we are perfect exactly where we are. This is our journey. And to really believe that, for me, is to go beyond the word perfect and understand. You know, I heard understand it is, in some ways I used to not like this expression, it is what it is. You know, and yet as a kid, I was a nerd and I loved verbs of being. Am, is, are, was, were, be, been. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world that we have verbs that describe being human. And so the word perfect, we are perfect. I do believe I'm perfect, even when I'm losing my temper. Even that's taken me a long time to get there, because I have, you know, we have the judge. What are they called? What are those three? The tyrant, the judge, and the victim are very human manager scripts, because we have been given them. And my judge is wicked good, you know, very righteous. And it's like, sometimes I can play with him, go, you done? Okay. So, you know, so you are perfect exactly the way you are. And the word perfect for some people is not the word to use. So to me, when I can remove a word struggle, I just do it. Yes, and we are divine humans with divine spirits having an experience together. Our DNA is connected to source, and our bodies are, you know, I was thinking about this before we went on. As I'm making friends with my human manager and my body and all of these things, sometimes I realize I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss the human that carried me. You know, I'm going to miss it.
When are you going to miss it?
when I move on to the next, when my
When you transition out of being human.
out of being human, right? And I'm like,
the reason that I'm being picky here is because a lot of people, again, have the idea that
when I die,
I'm leaving my human behind as I go into the fifth dimension, or as I expand spiritually, I'm going to lose my who I am as a human. And so this is the reason that I was being very specific with Kitty on being clear about when she was referring to that, because it can also create a limitation for us, an innocent limitation. If I am afraid of losing my human in going into a different experience of life, I'm going to create resistance into expanding into a different potential. And what we are reminding ourselves about is that our human is actually leading it.
mm-hmm.
Our human is going with us into a new perspective, into a new potential. Ryan said it as well. Our human already knows that it is the vehicle for God. Our human already recognizes that it is the vehicle of all that is to manifest and to create in this beautiful world, with the knowledge and with the absolute knowing that it is the energy of source personified with your unique and individual vibration. Call it your personality. And so it's really a wonderful time to really allow ourselves to explore into what's potential. And what I'm hearing from Kitty today is being aware that there are patterns in our belief systems that we are ready to let go of. And sometimes identifying those patterns can be really helpful in letting them go.
And that's what this nodal access, we experienced ourselves, we stabilized, and this is where we are to spark that next piece. I'm thrilled that I have gotten to a point where I love myself to think I could miss myself, because there have been times in my life where I'd be like, I'll take her, like there was some great, but that's becoming that what love is. Loving ourselves is the first step. I would have thought that. I realized that actually with the work, and I urge everyone, find different people. There are different modalities. I worked with a woman who taught me to love that little girl who's been scared for a really long time. It had to do with my past. And what I have realized is the more I'm in touch with this source, I can go and change what's happened to me in the past. It's not trauma anymore. It's just, it is what it is. And my ability to work with that energy coats it more in love. Oh, I see it differently. Doesn't mean I'm not judging it anymore. It was what it was. And I'm able to go back and say, you got this. It's fine. And that brings this energy forward, and it does open the channel, because if time is our constraint, which I do believe, that was on my delineation, my declination, time is our constraint, I can let go of time. I travel back and forth in the memory of the energy. It has changed, and it continues to change through me. And so it's such an interesting thing, the use of astrology for me. One of the things that I said before I came in, I said, so is there a planet you want me to talk about? And they said, yes, Saturn. I'm like, oh, Saturn's a bummer. There's a judgment. So Saturn is our planet of potential, and it's the potential of our structures. And in its denser expression, it confines, and we need it to confine. We need structures. We're not, if we didn't need structures, we wouldn't have taken this, if there wasn't something for us to learn about it. But Saturn right now is in the very focused dream of what our structures can be. And so that's part of this declaration, this vision of what I'm letting go of, what I've become aware of, where I've gone along to get along. And the more I work at what's the spark for my soul, and learning about the symbols and things I've bought into, the more I'm able to be, oh, my potential has just changed exponentially because I see a bigger picture. And that is something that's happening for many people. They're seeing more, they're hearing more, they're sensing more. That is a very physical attribution that's happening for people. And I know that this is true for many people. I am not as worried as I once was. I'm not trying to always figure stuff out, because what did Megan say? When I slow down enough and am quiet enough, I can feel the acceleration point to where I'm going, versus I just keep going and hope that I'm in the right direction. And I thought that that was so beautiful. She said, when I'm quiet and I get really turning the brain off and I, thank it for its journey. Let's see if we can find that quietness. Like you said, the human leads the way. Then I'm able to feel where that acceleration next is for me, and it's love. And I'm able to tap into it, and I just go with that flow. And that's what Saturn is in right now, the sign of flow, Pisces, but it's spirit's flow. If I can focus myself, I can flow. So that was what they wanted me to talk about today, was Saturn.
And so I thought it was really cute when you said, oh, Saturn's a bummer. And then the first words out of your mouth were, Saturn is this amazing planet that has this amazing energy. It's like, where's the bummer in that?
Yeah. Well, I said that was a judgment, because Saturn also is the planet of our constrictions. In our lifetime, most of us have at least 2, if not 3 Saturn returns, end of our 20s, end of our 50s, and in our 80s. And it's a time where something usually is really, really restructured, and Saturn is a narrowing. So just to tell you, Saturn went into Capricorn just as 2020 hit, and Capricorn is the sign of structures. And what did it do? It completely narrowed our structures, did it not, when we went into Saturn?
Yeah.
And Saturn now is in Pisces. So Saturn is wanting us to flow and dream what the potential is, but focus it. And so it's an interesting time. It's not Saturn's, it's an energy that Saturn, it has to work with, because it wants you to dream, it wants you to flow, and Saturn wants to focus it so you can reach your potential. It's our structures. It's our bigger energy. It's one of our bridge energies. So
there's an element here that, again, I want to emphasize a little bit, which is this idea that as we expand into our understanding of who we are, our level of awareness changes. How aware we are of our experience changes. How aware we are of the bigger perspective behind the experience changes. And what we're all kind of stepping into in this conversation is this idea that we're expanding our understanding of what it means to be human and spirit. And as that understanding expands, we naturally become observers of life in a different way. The level at which we are observing life changes. The perspective from which we are observing life changes. The level of awareness that we have as the observer of life changes. And again, this isn't about one being better than the other. This is just an opportunity to have a different experience.
Very much so.
And naturally, when we get caught up in let me personalize this. When I get caught up in my drama and trauma of life, I am reminding myself not to go into judgment. I'm very conscious of this because I still go into judgment very easily. So I'm consciously reminding myself about not going into judgment. And I'm really excited to be in a place within my own expansion where I can go into the drama and trauma without judgment. Because again, the idea isn't about, as we expand into higher experiences of life, we're never going to have drama and trauma. That's not what's on offer. What's on offer is that drama and trauma is no longer drama and trauma.
That's exactly what it is.
That's what's on offer, is that
Yes.
the drama and trauma is no longer drama and trauma. It's just drama and trauma.
Well, and it becomes about how I experience and my paradigm with it. A good example I can use was that my son was in a very serious car accident. We almost lost him, my 36-year-old son. And this was last September. And I was in a position to watch other people, because there was a lot of drama around it. I will name it, I will call it, because of there was substance abuse, there was all kinds of things. And my awareness of that drama and trauma was, I can become that, or I can reflect back. And where is my discernment? I care, I love him, and this is his journey. And one of the things, it's a funny thing to say, the more expansive we are, and understanding that each of us has our own journey, the more cohesive we are, and our separateness starts to dissipate. I'm not thinking in a separate, I'm looking at him saying, this is your human journey. I love you. You know, I send you the best. I thank the hospital, but it's not my journey. And yes, would it have been sad still at times? Yes. And that's still his journey, me accepting that for him. And in my understanding of how I am as a sovereign being and my connection, I allow him his sovereign beingness and his connection. A lot of drama we borrow. We borrow it from other people. We just do, you know. And we're very, it's hypnotizing. Come on. There's a reason why everybody wants to see the train wreck, or we call it in Michigan rubbernecking. When there's an accident, you know, there's a natural curiosity that human beings have, and then we find ourselves in this. That's one reason I love astrology, because I learn about my tool belt. I learn about the energies I talked about coming in. And when astrology resonates with you, it allows you some tools to go, oh, you know, I have something called a wounded Chiron, which is your wounded healer. It's the archetype of Chiron, the wounded person. And mine happens to be in a sign about, am I good enough? Do I have something to offer? I'm very aware of that characteristic. So that's why I work with other people. Because if they can see they're worth something, I see I'm worth something. I'm very aware of my Chiron wound. It's a tool now, rather than something for me to have avoided. And in this sparking of my Virgo North Node, this Aries energy that is telling my own personal Virgo North Node, time for some new ways of doing things. I'm very aware of the smaller pieces, the nuances that my soul draws me to, which is why I read this. I get drawn here. It's all, that's what our first speaker talked about. Everything becomes channeling. There's a reason why you're drawn to a book. The energy is being channeled to you to guide you. You are in touch with your source. And that's what Megan talked about. You are in touch when it flows, not when your human manager is overwhelmed in managing. Now, you were talking about human beings are getting whole new operating systems. So our human manager is trying to, if you've ever been in a corporation and a new operating system comes in, it's a bit of a nightmare for a while, because you don't have manuals to go back. And that's what we're talking about. We're throwing out a lot of the old manuals. What do? If we're throwing them out, we have to be reading the new ones. We have to become aware of what's in them. That's why our focus needs an awareness to, or has an awareness, so that we move on from that. And that's, I don't even get into the conversation anymore about destiny. Is it all pre-designed? I believe it's all right. It's all the way it's supposed to be, but that doesn't mean I'm not in an interaction with it.
Yeah, there's a rabbit hole of complexity behind the difference between free will and God's will.
Yes.
But anyway, one thing, I'm going to kind of like change topics a little bit.
Okay. He's going to make me channel.
I'm not
Okay.
actually. But if you want to channel, we can. Actually, Shannon has a question here. If your personal North Node is Aries along with the current being in the same position for the collective, how would you interpret that? Or is there a particular something to be more aware of?
So one of the things to know about where your personal Aries North Node is the house it's in. And the house it's in is where that conversation, so what area in life you might be getting a double dose of, which I'm going to bet you are, because you've got your own soul that's always on a spark to keep going, to search, and now that energy you're tapping into. And so I would say in a chart, find out what house it's in, because that will give you an overview of, so like my node is in my 8th house. So it's always about transforming my soul, going to look into the darkness to find the light. That's the 8th house energy. So that would be what I would say to you, because yes, you're getting a double dose. So if you're feeling like there's a huge shift in why you're here and how you're evaluating it, there is, and it's a spark, and you're getting like 2 sparks. You get 2 flicks of the Bic to get going at this point. That's what Aries is. It's that Sia song, I'm unstoppable today. And there's a line in there that says, I'm a Porsche with no brakes. Not sure that's a great safety that thing, but it's kind of that feeling. I'm unstoppable. That's that Aries energy. And that's what's pushing our souls right now. So it's really pushing yours. So whatever house it's in would be a difference.
It's not about being a Porsche with no brakes. It's being in a Porsche without wanting to push the brakes.
Right. Well, the song says, I'm a Porsche with no brakes. I'm like, I kind of go, all right, I get the invincible, I'm unstoppable, but yeah, a Porsche, don't push the brakes. That makes sense to me. So
okay. So this is one thing that I wanted to say.
Sure.
If you're curious about your astrological chart, and you want to learn more about how the planets and the stars are aligned with your personality and the energy that you brought into this planet to play with, Kitty has an amazing ability to share this with you without talking about limitations. And I'll give you an example. Years ago, when I was little, my mom bought all of the 3 siblings a chart. And so I read the chart, and there was stuff in that chart that has stayed with me that I vehemently disagreed, but really stuck with me as a limitation. And I've questioned, is this because, is this because, is this because? I mentioned this to Kitty when she and I were working together, and she was like, I could see why somebody would say that, but what this energy tells me is this, 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 and this, and this. And there was a way of looking at what the chart says without speaking of it as a limitation. And so this is one of the things that I really appreciate about Kitty's approach to astrology being a story, is that it isn't about, these are the things that you're good at and these are the things that you're bad at, which to me is just a limited way of looking at life. Kitty says, these are the energies that are working with you, and these are the energies that you can tap into in order to expand and to play with and to explore. And these are the energies that don't necessarily resonate with you, but are available to you in this way, this way, this way, and this way. And Kitty, at any point in time, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong.
That's why I tell it as a story, because it's your play. And whether an energy is an antagonist or protagonist, it's your choice. It's how you use your story. It's your toolkit. It's a map. It's a toolkit. I am not a believer it predestines anything. It's just the way I came with some. I believe that these are energies I use, and these are, there's a reason why archetypes exist, because it is part of our human agreement. I like it. The Cool Council calls it the cheat sheet to the life plan. Love that. Gonna steal it. Thank you. The cheat sheet to your life plan. I absolutely love that. I believe when you know your story and you know your players, then you have an ability to interact authentically in your life. And I am not a understander of people that say this means this. Well, first of all, I'm Henry David Thoreau. On the duty of civil disobedience. You tell me it's going to be that way, I'm going to go the other way. That is a characteristic, and I like it about myself now. So yes, I do believe that. I do believe it's a map. I like that cheat sheet, and it's your energetic makeup. It's a tool. If it doesn't resonate with you, there's a reason it doesn't resonate with you. And I actually have a class where they learn to read. You read your own chart. That's what you learn, and we do it very intuitively. And you look at what does that mean in your life, and it's a small group, and it's been an amazing journey because there are people who can see other things in the chart, other patterns, colors, different things that happen. And it's called Optimize. And I've been reading a lot about manifestation, and the idea that it's already yours, it's how do I tap into that frequency, really resonates with me. I never really understood. I put out all these things, and people have you doing different things, and I'm not poo-pooing it, because there are energies they tap into. But I have loved that thought. My manifestation is me matching the frequency of what I'm asking for, and believing it's already mine. And as my own life shifts, I really do see that.
And so for people that are listening to this, there's a special invitation associated with CSVS. If you are a member of Kitty's Facebook group, you will be able to take advantage of a different level of energy exchange. And it's an invitation to do a reading with her. So if you're interested in doing that, please reach out to her. Kitty does ask that you reach out to her through Facebook. And if you do reach out to Facebook, please make sure that you mention that you are connecting with her because of CSVS or channeling spirit, so that she has a reference, because there's so many messages that we receive through Facebook that are junk and crap, and we just want to avoid them.
I'm terrible at the contact me thing. Did I give you the intuition of the soul 11 at gmail.com?
No, you didn't, but well, yes, it is. It's on the page because of but I don't like posting
in the class. It meets for 5 months, and it's just your chart in a small group. Reach out for that too, and I'll give you an additional discount. I didn't tell that to Daniel, because why would I do that? I love to surprise him.
And so for those of you that are listening, intuition of the soul 11 at gmail.com. It is written out in the description. I tend not to put links to emails, and I try to avoid emails as much as possible, so that robots don't come in and steal it and then spam my speakers. But nonetheless, you can reach out to Kitty either via email or through Facebook if you're interested in working with her. So Kitty, thank you very much. Is there anything that you would like to finish on? Would you like to do a channeling for us before we go?
I will ask Spirit if there's anything they would like me to say. I think that they kind of have already done it, but what I'd like to ask everyone to do is to take a breath And before you take the breath, think of the Earth Star chakra, which is below your feet, and above is the star chakra. And when you pull your breath in, pull it from above and below into the heart. And pause, because it is in the pause that we all meet. That's where that divine quantum, and then let go. And be very aware of the pause in your breath. That's where we touch the stars. And so it is. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
So you have it.
I'll see you in the pause.
I will see you in the pause. Okay, so end of day 2. Thank you very much, Kitty, for being with me as always. Appreciate the conversations. For tomorrow, we have Joanne Angel, Barry Colon. We have Elena Cochran and Christy Slopemaker. Joanne Angel has been with us in the past, and then Elena and Christy are new to the platform. So it'll be exciting to see.
Oh, I look forward to it.
What we come across tomorrow.
I'm making every single one this time.
Awesome.
That's my goal this time. So
awesome.
all right.
So,
thank you, everyone.
Thank you all very much for being here. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow, and I will leave you with being spirit, being human, simply being from love. Thank you for being part of this incredible experience. We hope that this session has inspired a new level of understanding within you, allowing you to expand more easily into the essence of your true self and become an even more powerful alchemist in your own life. We invite you to listen to the session again and again in order to go deeper each time and expand even more. Have it be via the replays or the unlimited access package. If you have enjoyed being part of this event, we invite you to tell your friends so that they can join us in the future. We are grateful that you are here, and we thank you for co-creating this experience with us. Until next time, we leave you with being spirit, being human, and simply being from love.